Hello and welcome or welcome back to Sarah's Stitch. This is episode 36, and for those of you that are new here, my name is Sarah. I am a knitter. I live in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is right across the river from New York City. I live in an apartment with windows open right now, so if you hear some street noise, I'm very sorry about that in advance. But this is my place here on YouTube where I can share with all of you about my knits, what I'm making, what I'm planning on making, any acquisitions I may have, and all of that good stuff, because my friends and family are sick of hearing me talk about it is an understatement of the century. So anything I talk about today, whether it be patterns, my project specifically, yarn dyers, local yarn shops, all of that good stuff should be linked down below, as well as a link to my Ravelry page and my Instagram in case you wanted to go follow me there. And if you want to subscribe here, that would be lovely so we can build this community and I can keep chatting to all of you about my makes and my sometimes issues with my makes. But let's get started with finished objects today. So I have two finished objects today. The first is a pair of socks, which is the pair of socks I alluded to last time that I had lost the second sock. I have found the second sock. So, second sock has been finished. I've showed these before, but these are just plain vanilla socks, which I knit out of a Homespun House Patreon sock set. So, the way Molly does her Patreon sock sets is it's usually a 50-gram mini skein, so 50-gram main color and then a 20-gram contrast color. So for this one, the foot of the sock was the main color, and then this purple that I used in the heel was the contrast, and then I just used two extra colors for the heel and the toe just to spice it up a bit. So I started these in August, right when I left London for my vacation after work. So I'll say they took about a month to make, but it was not a month of knitting and they were misplaced for about 3 weeks. So it is September 23rd today. I don't know if I said that or not yet, but so I made these on 9-inch circulars with 64 stitches. I am a US size 9, UK size 7, and an EU about 39 or 40. And I did 64 stitches, just a standard heel flap, slip stitch heel flap. I did do a garter stitch ridge just on the side. I think I did 3 stitches. A French heel turn, 80 rounds for the foot before I did toe decreases. And then I just did an umbrella, this is focusing on the sock, an umbrella toe, which is a toe from K. Jones. And the contrast colors I used, I do not remember the name of the mini skein. If I can, I will try and link it down below. I want to say it was like something petals or something like that, but this cuff is tulle skirt and this toe is double dare. And I can prove I have 2 socks. So, officially a finished pair of socks, which is a win in my book because it's been a long time since I've finished a pair of socks. So these will be going into the sock drawer. And I typically don't block my socks before I wear them. I will maybe if they're gifts or something like that, but they're just for me. I don't block them before I wear them. They'll get blocked when they get washed for their first time. And my second finished object, which is a bit of a tale of woe, not the worst, but it is a finished object, is my mom's sweater, which is the Stonecrop Pullover by Andrea Mowry. Here it is, fully done. We've got the sleeves done, body's done, and I knit this in a size 4 with spin cycle dyed in the wool in the color Opia, and then the cream is the Fiber Company Cumbria Fingering in the color White Heather. And I don't know if it's coming up on camera or not. The spin cycle did bleed a little bit when I walked it, which was fine. I'm okay with the little bits that did bleed, like the blue sections kind of bled a little bit and the red sections kind of bled a little bit. However, we did have quite a bit of bleeding down here. So I do think I'm going to be ripping out from right above the bobbles, just putting a needle in above the start of the bobbles, ripping it all out. And I've tried it on. It's very long on me, so I may just cut above the bobbles and just put the ribbing on and maybe make the ribbing half an inch longer than this and give my mom the sweater like that, just so I don't have to worry about reblocking it as much and hopefully no more bleeding, and then she can have her sweater. I will say the arms are also a little bit long, so when I'm down there next weekend I may have her try it on, and if she wants me to shorten them I will probably snip to like before this motif and just put the ribbing there so it makes it like an inch shorter or so. But I think she'll like the length of the arms. It's more so I'm hoping she doesn't want the body this long so that I can just put the ribbing on, and I'm very much debating if I can just do that, just do the ribbing again and tell her this is how it is, or if I should have her try it on first. But if anyone has suggestions for getting bleeding out of sweaters, please let me know. I feel like there is no solution, which is really upsetting, but risky run with, I don't have a steamer, so I probably should have steam blocked it. I didn't, and this is my consequence. Mainly over here, but so sad. I used the recommended needle size for the body and the ribbing. I think everything turned out very well. I haven't measured it yet, so I'm not sure if it hit gauge. I'm pretty sure it did, just based off the way it fits me. It seems like it probably hit gauge. And yeah, I think it's a really nice sweater. I hope my mom doesn't mind the bleeding that much. If she does, I guess I could reknit everything, but there is like a little tiny bit of bleeding up here as well. Just honestly everywhere where there's like the bright pink, there was a bit of bleeding. Again, I think it says literally everywhere it possibly could on Spin Cycle's website, on the yarn, on everything. Like, essentially do not wash, because it can bleed, and I knew that. I just thought I was gonna get away with it, which I clearly did not. But c'est la vie, not the end of the world. It's just a sweater. So, get a sip of water. All right. So next, let's go through my dad's sweater quickly. So we're going on to works in progress. Those were my only two finished objects for this episode. Next, I have my dad's sweater, which is the Hanstholm Sweater by Petite Knit. It is her men's raglan pattern, made for DK yarn, and I'm knitting this out of Sorella's Classic DK in the colorway Am I Laughing or Crying, which is from the Gilmore Girls collection last November, maybe October. So this is where it is. This is the back side. As I've said before, I hope you can see all the way down. This stitch marker is where I started. This is, I think, where I got to podcast before last, and I haven't made a ton of progress since the last podcast. I think it might be a few more rows than this. I did just put the stitch marker in over this past weekend. So it's decently there. I think I need 10 more centimeters or so before I can do the ribbing. I do have my dad's gray sweater, the Marius I made for him, which he wants me to just put some short rows in the back of, because the neck kind of pulls up, so it's shorter in the back than it is in the front. You know what short rows are meant to fix, but the pattern doesn't have any short rows, so I have that sweater here, so I'm going to just measure this against the Marius for length. I think that's probably easiest, and then just base it off of that, of the best fit and length for him, and then I will just have to do 2 sleeves, and then this would be done. I am making the size medium on the recommended needles of 4 millimeters and maybe 3 millimeter for the ribbing. I'm not entirely sure on the ribbing, if I'm honest. It's been a long while since I did the ribbing. I started this in late February, so it's been months since I looked at a ribbing needle for this. So I probably will just do whatever the pattern says for ribbing and that will be that. I am alternating this yarn, so as you can see, I do have 2 balls of it. So just because it is a hand-dyed yarn and it's not a sweater for me, I am doing helical knitting, so knitting to 3 stitches before the last ball, slipping those 3 stitches, and then continuing knitting with the second ball of yarn every row. I probably will not do that for the sleeves because it seems to be a very consistent spread in terms of pooling and all of that, so I don't find it to be useful to do helical knitting when it's on a sleeve and it's 2 tonals that are very, very similar and pretty consistently dyed. It just doesn't feel worth it to me. I will do it for like speckled or things like that, but for a tonal, I probably will not do it. I will probably leave the lifeline in here that the stitches are on hold for, just to, if I so decide that it is pooling in a kind of weird way, I can always just go back and rip it out and redo it. But this is his sweater, which I'm hoping to have done in the next week or 2, which feels doable, especially with the Stonecrop mostly done. I think it's very doable to finish his sweater. Definitely pre-Rhinebeck, hopefully. Definitely pre-Rhinebeck, I can finish this. Hopefully I can finish this and fix his gray sweater pre-Rhinebeck. That would be ideal. All right, next, just going based off what's closest to me, is my sock. So this is the Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern. I'm not sure who wrote it, but I think everyone under the sun knows the pattern. It's free on Ravelry, and I'm knitting this again out of a Homespun House Patreon sock set, and this time I do know the colorway name. It's called Sprout, and I believe it was the May 2024 colorway, and this is what it looks like. So this is the main skein, and then the contrast that came out with it is this really gorgeous green with, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it does have a bit of stellina in it. And then the heel, I did a Eye of Partridge heel with some mistakes in Molly's colorway Spark, which is this really nice lemony yellow. And I think I only have like 5 or 6 more rows on this before I start doing the toe. As you can see, I'm also knitting on 9-inch circular needles, 2mm, and this sock does have 60 stitches rather than 64, just because I wanted to try out the 60 stitches and see if I like that fit for a partially rib sock as compared to a 64 stitch, and it's 4 less stitches per round, which really adds up. What else? As usual, I'm just doing my 80 rounds after the heel for the foot. Because this isn't stockinette, I don't have the like bulb stitch markers all the way down. I just count the number of repeats, which is easy enough because it's a 4-round repeat. And I think I did about 15 rounds for the cuff and 36 rounds for the leg, I believe, or 40. Multiple 4 again. So, and I think I'm going to do this green for the toe as well, just because I don't feel like caking up another ball. I was thinking about doing purple just to tie in all the colors of the socks, but I don't have a purple caked up at the moment, and I do have the green caked up, so I think it'll be nice to have the green, and then you can see a bit more of the stellina, which is really stellina-ing in this skein, which I love. So those are the socks I have been working on. And finally, we have my Rhinebeck sweater, which is the framed by Andrew Mowry again. I am knitting this in a size 3 on the recommended needle sizes, and I picked out Tandem by, it's Westwool yarn from Stephen and Penelope. I think it's their house yarn. And I picked Tandem in the colors Corduroy and Wellington, And then my spin cycle is Dreams Fate Kaluna, which is the exclusive yarn for Fig Tree Yarns in Jersey in the UK. So I ordered the spin cycle while I was in the UK. The Stephen and Penelope I ordered when I had gotten back because I still, like, I couldn't decide on what color combination I wanted to use with the Kaluna. It's been a whole saga. I've talked about it before, but this is where it's at. I'm so happy with it. So the body is blocked. I wanted to block the body just to see how long it was going to be cropped and all that. I am working on this sleeve at the moment, but this sleeve is finished. I did do an extra repeat of the chart before I did the cuffs, just because I didn't want it to be super, I wanted a full length sleeve. I didn't want it to be like bracelet length or anything like that. I think this will probably be a bit longer than I was wanting it to be, especially when it blocks out, but I'm so looking forward to it. And you can really see, I think, here, so the fabric on my main body has been blocked, obviously, and it has blocked out gorgeously, but this is what the body fabric looked like the whole time. I think I mentioned it last episode, but these like blocks of 3 stitches, I'm getting a bit of puckering on, and I know that's just my tension, and I'm probably just going too fast and not taking my time, and etc., etc. And it's a bit worse with the smaller circumference because I don't have a 4.5 millimeter 16-inch cable. I've just been using a 12-inch, and these are balloon sleeves, so the stitches are a bit squished on here. There's no decreases until you get to the wrist, so they've been a bit squished, and I think that's been unhelpful for my color work, but I think it'll all block out, or block out enough that it won't really be noticeable that much anyway. And yeah, I'm so happy with this. I can't wait to wear this at Rhinebeck and all winter, honestly. I think it's a great color combination, and I'm so happy with it. I can't wait to finish it. Like this sleeve took me less than a day to do, so I should knit on my dad's sweater. I think I'm going to try and do like 10 or 12 rounds of my dad's sweater, and then the rest of my evening is going to be for the sleeve, and see how far I can get, because I think I could potentially be done with it by like next week or the week after, if I just do a few rounds a day, or like half a motif a day, or motif repeat a day. It will be done in no time at all, because I did only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 motifs on this arm. So I'm already done with 1 motif. I've just started the second. So what's that? 15% of the way there, give or take a few percentages. So it's going to fly by. And yeah, I can't wait to wear this at Rhinebeck. I did, maybe it might just be a me problem, but I did find it a little bit, I don't know what the best word to say is, but awkward picking up the stitches for the sleeve, even after I blocked it. It seemed like there was no good place to do it, and everywhere I was picking them up, there's like such big gaps on the sides, which probably, again, is like my tension for the end of the row, for the front and the back. But I wound up going in, I think, half a stitch further than Andrea recommends in the pattern, just so that I wasn't getting a ton of like holes in the fabric between where the pickup is. Like you can still see through kind of a little bit, like in person. I don't think it'll show up on camera, and I'm hoping it'll block out fine, but it just seemed very gapey. And again, I do think that's a me problem. I don't think that's an Andrea problem. I think that's really just a tensioning. I don't work sweaters flat. I often don't do drop shoulders. So I think it was more that, and like the color work right up to the edge and all of that was really giving me a hard time. But other than that, it's been great. I think it's a really nice pattern. It's very fun and addictive, as all of them are, but I think this one is even more so because it's so doable to do for Rhinebeck, because it's on bigger needles. It's all over color work without like the mosaics of the tessellated, which the tessellated feels like it takes forever and ever because it's so many slip stitches that you like essentially you're knitting every row twice. But this just has flown by. I posted about it on Instagram saying I think it's my fastest sweater. It will be my fastest knit sweater to date, and I think that will still be the case even considering I didn't knit on it for like 5 or 6 days this week. So that is that, and that is all my works in progress for this week. I do have one acquisition, which is my Pride and Prejudice month 6 skein, which is a DK sock set, and it's called My Courage Always Rises, and it's this really gorgeous brick red with a midnight blue kind of charcoal mini, and as always there's the very delicate speckles that Bethany puts in there, and yeah, it's going to go into the sock stash. It is DK. I think I mentioned last episode or the one before that I am currently drowning in sock yarn, so I think a lot of the latest collective sock sets I've gotten, as well as the last few Pride and Prejudice sets, have all been DK with the hopes of maybe knitting through them a bit quicker and getting my stash down a bit so that I can make room for more. But I think that is it for me today. I have been knitting on my granny square blanket a little bit. I think you might be able to see it in frame a little bit. It's right here. But I did say I wasn't going to show it to you until I finished the last ball of yarn before the last ball of yarn, penultimate ball of yarn, if you will. So it still has, I think, 3 or 4 more colors before I get through that. So that has had a bit of work since the last episode. But again, I think it's boring to just show a blanket every time when it's still just a blanket. I am getting to the point where I need to figure out what I want to do for the border, like color-wise. I don't think I want to just do antique or something cream. I think I'd rather do a color. So I need to figure out what color I'd like to do for it. I'm leaning towards like Scandinavia or something like that. Maybe oatmeal. Ideally, I just don't want antique or fresh sheets because I feel like it's going to show the dirt a bit more. And like, as it gets used and loved, like my, what's it called? Habitation throw is back there, and that is from the 2021, it's hard for the motorcycle. I think that's from the 2021 Advent collection. Yeah, it's Molly's 2021 Advent. Yes. Knit into a blanket, and it is used pretty much every day and is showing its wear and tear. So it needs to be soaked for a long, long while and washed. Sorry if that's gross, but I'd like to avoid that with this one since it's fresh and new and shiny. So the less light colors, the better, I think. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this. Please comment down below. Let me know what you were working on while you were knitting this. Let me know if you think I should do the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along this year. I do not have any yarn for it yet. I'm sure I could go through my stash and find some. But I haven't decided if I'm going to do it yet or not. So I would love to know if any of you are planning on doing it, or if you think I should just stick to my fall knitting plans list that is extensive to say the least, and just work on that for once, and I can always decide to do Go Dynamo after the fact. But yes, please let me know what you're working on. If you have any suggestions for me on my mom's sweater, if you have any pattern ideas for me for what to work on next, because I am itching to work on something new. I know I said I was going to finish up a sweater, but I have plans to finish up sweaters, so hopefully they will be coming to fruition soon. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening to me ramble, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.